Hello and welcome back to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and how to spend it. I'm Andy Green.
I'm Felix Schultz. How are you, Andy?
Fantastic. Felix, today we have not one but two guests joining us.
Oh.
Do you know who it is?
Yeah, I think we're talking to... I'm going to put on my sort of wrestling announcer voice.
Do it.
Actually, I don't know if I can. I'll give it a go. Hasselblad heroine, note to your love, Lydia Winters, and her partner in time, Vu
Winters Watches, if you follow them on YouTube.
Yeah, and you can follow them on YouTube. No, are they Winters Watches, or I think they're Winters and Bowie, aren't they?
No, Winters Movie on YouTube. Winters Watches is the business Instagram.
Gotcha.
They're just doing so much. We're going to talk to them all about it. You might remember Lydia from, I think, mid last year. She came on the show.
Yeah, she's great. You also might have read her, I think it was like New York Times coverage or something recently.
Yeah, and if you're tight with her, you probably got a Christmas card. We did. It was lovely. Still,
I'm still looking at it. Like it's March going on April. And I
wonder what Lydia's going to send out this year.
Nothing. She'll be burnt out from the effort of writing all these lovely Christmas cards. Hey, but before that, Andy, I've got some devastating news.
What's happening?
I lost my Wordle streak.
You did. You sucker.
I had 52 days of straight wordling, 100% success rate. And I lost it in a pretty bad way. So I was sick. And this is me justifying.
Is that an excuse? Yeah. What's the matter with an excuse?
Yeah. Because the word, it wasn't like cynic or, any of the other super weird words I've had recently. It was watch.
It was.
I couldn't guess watch. And I had four of the letters. I'm just like, oh, it's batch, hatch, match. No, it was watch.
It's the curse of you getting those four letters early on a word like that. I think it was like SHAR. And I think it took me 3 goes to get that it was sharp. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't shark. It was sharp. I got it in 3. So
so that's my own cross to bear. I mean, any other word I would have been fine with it. Like I'm not particularly precious about that, but just the added cruelty of it being a watch that is so near and dear to my professional heart.
A lot of people missed it. SJP, formerly of Hodinky, he did an Instagram story saying he probably hasn't used a word. I mean, he definitely would have, so that's not correct, but he hasn't used a word as much as watch, yet he missed it.
And for me, I'm again not trying to excuse it. It is the pronunciation. Like in my head, I was in like that atch sort of sound.
Watch.
Tricky.
Watch. I'm Wordle. We talk about that a little bit, and it comes up in our Discord, which everyone should join.
It's a little ritual we've got going on. We'll send each other a text,
and it's sort of become a with the exception of one instance in our Discord, it's teaching people how to respect an embargo. And I wonder if we'll look back. I wonder if we'll look back in 5 years, 10 years time with some economists and draw a correlation between Wordle and people respecting embargoes of things,
or even more than that, improving internet culture around
spoilers,
no spoilers, and all that sort of click culture. Maybe it's the way forward. Wordle is the future.
Yeah, it's teaching manners. What else, Felix?
I mean, I've been up to a few things. Even though I've been sick, I've managed to I got out and about, and I also got a box of a Parisian themed press kit from Swatch, as in Swatch watches.
Lucky
not it was pretty good.
Swatch from Swatch.
Too soon, man. They've released a combo of watches with one of my, and I can legitimately say this and sound like a terrible poser at the same time. One of my favorite galleries, the Centre Pompidou in Paris. They've done a series of artistic watches. It's an incredible building. I would suggest anyone. This is actually really good. So it's got. It looks like an Alain Silberstein watch on the outside, and that's very much the same sort of design influence. That sort of Memphis school of design.
Sure,
but it's a great modern art building as well. And Swatch have done 6 watches. Sort of celebrating some of the works inside. So if you want a little Frida Kahlo on your wrist, you can do it. A little Mondrian. So yeah, and I think that's a neat little gang. I've always got a soft spot for a good Swatch watch. They were the sort of the first things that got me into watches. You know, I think they were discount swatches being sold at Proud's Jewelers in Bendigo. And I'd get like 3 or 4 of them, and they'd all be kind of like nothing that I wanted, but they were cheap.
Yeah,
So
instant collection.
yeah, that's sort of got that vibe going on. But also, I've had a look at some new Tissos.
Mm.
I posted up the green Auto PRX, which is really hot. And again, it's the first time I think I've seen that watch IRL. It's pretty good for like $1,500 for the Auto,
Mm-hmm.
maybe less. It's hard to go wrong with it.
So this is the regular PRX?
Yes,
You put them
yeah.
out,
So
yeah.
there's a quartz, there's the
Uh-huh.
Auto, but that green dial one, it looks really
I think the
smart.
auto's much less than that. Just to
Oh
jump in. I
yeah,
think it's under
yeah.
1,000.
Ooh, I'd be surprised. Maybe it
680
is. I
US.
don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can direct people to tito.com and you can check it out for yourself. They also sell on the Iconic. But the one that excited me that I didn't see on the day, I saw some pictures of it, but I've now seen it all over the internet, is the Prx Chrono.
Mm-hmm.
Little panda dial, little integrated, little sporty pushes, 2,700 Aussie ish. It's pretty hot.
It's a nice looking watch.
Yeah.
You've tried it on though, right?
No, that one they didn't have. But I mean, I've
Ah,
tried on the regular version, that I'm imagining there's not going to be too much of a difference on the wrist.
the regular version's 42 as well, 42 millimeter.
Oh, ask me some very specific
There
questions
is
for a professional
it's
watch reviewer.
like size. 2,700. It's an odd price point. Like it's very competitive.
I mean, it's just. I mean, they work
Nice looking
within.
watch.
It'll be a bit fatter. It's a Valjoux inside.
Mm-hmm.
You get a nice wobble in there, so that might change on the wrist dynamics. But really, like if you like that sort of vintage Zenith Defy vibe,
Mm.
is what I get from it, and they do have it does quite a good job, I think, of looking vintage and modern at the same time.
It's a nice looking watch. It's going to be really interesting to see how these are received by the market when they actually get released.
Speaking of how things are received by the market when they're
Uh-huh.
announced, there's been some drama, in the watch meme accounts, Andy.
Yes,
Omega have done their big drop, their product drop, and sort
they
of
have.
the green is the color du jour.
It is.
And there's been some comparisons drawn between top line Omega releases and another well-known Swiss manufacturer,
Mm.
being Rolex. Have you seen these little mock-ups?
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
I think you summed it up really well
I'm
because
not surprised.
um, I at first you look at it and you're a human being and you go, oh yeah, like it looks similar. Those colorways, green, rose gold watch with a yellow gold watch with a green dial from Rolex, and then the yellow gold watch with a green dial from Omega, and like obviously it's different shades of green and whatever. And the first instinct is to make that comparison, and then the second instinct is, but you can actually buy these.
Mm.
So that's why Omega are doing it, because at least you can buy these. They're making a watch that's similar to the ones everyone wants, but you can actually buy them, and that's where most people stop. But you took it one step further.
I can't remember what my take was, but I would
Oh,
love
really?
it.
Your take was that first of all, you said, this was just to me, that you said Rolex have done an amazing job in making people think that they own these colorways and that they own
Yeah,
these sort of design, down to a colorway, right?
yeah.
The default is everyone says that that's a Rolex copy, which is totally untrue. You don't own colorways. You don't own any of it.
Yeah.
Most watches are
The
copies of other
Hulk
watches.
was not the first green dial
No,
diver. Yeah.
no, and by no means do they have any proprietary over it, or exclusivity over those colors, and it happens every day. Like we just talked about a Tissot that looks like every other Panda Chrono out there, that looks like every other integrated Gerald Genta inspired watch. But the mere fact that the masses default is that brand's copied Rolex is kind of an amazing move by Rolex.
Yeah.
Like it's ingrained in people. That's the first thing they
first
think.
mover.
Yeah. And that's it. That's where people stop, and they don't actually take it those steps further with their kind of thoughts and reviews on the releases. And you look at them in as standalone pieces, and it's like, oh yeah, well, why if you have a steel watch, why wouldn't you do a blue dial or a green dial? Who really cares? It's the cut. It's when it comes to design, it tends to be things about colors. So you have Pantone Color of the Year, and that gets woven into a lot of other products. So why wouldn't you? Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is, why wouldn't you make the most commercial ones? Like they're going to sell. You're in the business. You're not in the business to like, oh, guys, should we not make this really commercial, saleable product because it looks a little bit like our major competitor? No, of course not. We should make more. We should make it cheaper. We should make it, better.
And if it's half the price, then it's sort of praised. Like if it's a brand that does it for half the price,
yeah,
it's praised. And it's if Shooter does it, it's okay. I don't know. I think that it was a bit of a wake up call for me when you said that, because it's a really good point that they have everyone tricked through marketing and really good marketing that's they own this, and they've got this sort of like unsaid ownership over any design that they put out. It's like there's this loyalty to them. It's fascinating.
That green dialed gold Speedmaster looks incredible. I think because I'm such a creature of contradiction, I don't like chronographs. But if I had a gold watch, if you said, Felix, you can have let's spend all the OT money and buy Felix a gold watch rather, I would be really tempted to buy a gold Speedmaster.
It's pretty cool. I mean, the Moonshine one from maybe 2-3 years ago, that was a bit of a slept-on watch when it came out, and then has gained some appreciation. And I think this, I'm 50-50 on it, but I think this could be a really big watch in the future.
I think that's what you just said. It was slept on when it came out, but it's gained appreciation. It's the same with that is how all watches work, except Rolex.
Well, even Rolex. I mean, I look back at
the Air
literally
King
gem
or
sets,
something like that.
Gem sets, which are the gem set you were there, Felix, gem set Daytonas, that we would have to specifically ask to see these watches at Basel, because the brands would say, no, we don't really. We get like
only special orders.
These are like special orders, and they'll just go to the same customers every year. No one really wants them. Why would you even want to see these? They're novelties. They're not the core of the business. And fast forward a couple of years, that same watch that no one really wanted is now $750,000. So those people, and most people don't even know that before the Everose, Rainbow Daytona, there was white gold. Like, and it's been, gem set rainbows have been a part of Rolex for a really long time.
Yep. Shout out Ross Povey.
yeah. Even Rolex, there's a lot of stuff that was slept on, and
even that leopard print Daytona. I mean, it's taken them bloody 15 years, but people now love that.
Yeah. I mean, the Tutti Frutti Yachtmaster, everyone hated that. They thought it was the most obnoxious watch ever. I just saw one listed for $250,000. Yeah. So if you got a spare $55,000, $60,000, maybe buy that Omega, because I don't think there'll be too many of those floating around. On that, I watched Adrian Barker from Bark and Jack. He did a YouTube video, the Rolex predictions and other predictions from Watches and Wonders coming through thick and fast. But he caught my attention because he posted a photo that had some gem set Submariners, and they were rainbow. It was a Photoshop job. And it just reminded me back of that time, because I think that same year, Felix, we saw the Sapphire Submariner, which was a blue and black bezel.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the Photoshops, and again, it just shows how little is communicated around these watches. And I have a gut feeling, first of all, that rainbow gem set is probably done for now. Like, I think the Daytona,
too hot.
I think the Daytona was quietly discontinued, probably like 6 months to 12 months ago.
Oh yeah. But
I think, as a general thing, I think the rainbow is going to become less and less for now.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of looking at the dial, and we're looking at these watches, and there was no depth rating on it. And then I did a bit of an investigation around other models that, the sports models that typically have it, and none of them have depth ratings. So they add diamonds and take off the depth ratings.
Do you know do they rate them?
I think the Submariner was rated to 100. I think I found some sort of catalog PDF somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe someone sent it to me. I can't really remember. But it sort of had the technical specs, because even getting technical specs, like, there's a lot of these off-catalog models that you just never see.
Unless you're going to buy it.
Even then, it's, really, unless you work at a dealership. But I found that really interesting. So, The other thing, though, that I found interesting, and he talked about, was a comeback for the Engineer from RWC.
Oh, bloody! Haven't we all been talking about that for
Years
the
and years
last
and years.
5
But you know
years?
what? I've seen probably 5, large watch publications dropping vintage Engineers over the last 2 weeks. It's feeling a little bit organised.
I'm going to make I think we're going to get it next year.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just sort of, is the watch Illuminati, are they getting ready for a Engineer comeback?
I mean, or are they just getting clicks? I don't know. Maybe they've got embargoes, NDAs that we don't
We've
have.
not seen.
Yeah, that's very entirely possible. I suspect someone like Hodinkee has better access than us.
Well, maybe I think he posted and everyone else is just realised what it is and posting about it. But yeah, it's probably next year. You're probably right.
I don't know. That's just my feel, in my gut feel in terms of like production lines, like in my waters, my horological waters. What else? What, have you been in consuming any media?
Oh yeah, so I mentioned this to you offline. Severance on Apple TV. You across this show?
I've seen the ads. What's the
premise?
TLDR?
Okay, so directed by Ben Stiller.
Oh yeah, okay.
Fun fact. The concept of the show is basically, so it's called Severance. People basically get a job at this really weird and ambiguous company that's shrouded with mystery, and they get a operation that severs their work life and their personal life. So they go down a lift, and they basically they know nothing of their outside life, and when they're at work, they know nothing of their. When they're not at work, they know nothing of their inside life, and it's sort of
Is this a movie or a series?
It's a short series, and the guys is like, they're working on sensitive material, so they can never know about it. But it's really fascinating, and it's really quite eerie.
They're definitely got to be assassins or some shit like that, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not doing good stuff.
Right, cool.
But I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, all right. That sounds very sort of Westworldy.
Yeah, and it's really small cast tight. I think Adam McKay is the sort of the lead. So yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. Very kooky.
I will do that. That will fill me in between my breaks of RuPaul's Drag Race. We've got something else to talk about, Andy.
Yes.
We should have mentioned it before.
Yeah, we should.
But of course, this week's episode is sponsored by our friends at Edifice.
Edifice Australia, thank you.
And both of us have been wearing around. I've noticed you've been sort of leading into the next watch that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I think today, let's keep it on the feature-packed EQB 1100, which of course you're familiar with. It's the octagonal, sporty, dynamic watch that we've been, giving a run for its money. It's an integrated chronograph. It's got a lot going for it. They've sort of built it as their flagship model, and I can see why. Like, proportions are really good. It's not too thick. It's around 40 across without the pushes, as we've learnt. Dimensions aren't my strong suit. But one thing that we haven't really discussed here yet is that the ones we've been wearing have got this really cool grey ion plating, sort of like a gunmetal black.
Yeah, it's a nice treatment
look. And there's some pretty cool functionality aside from the look. What are you thinking about the internals, Andy?
I mean, just before that, if you haven't listened to our episode last week, Steve Corica, head coach at Sydney FC, we talk a little bit about the importance of timing on and off the soccer field or the football field. And of course, they are sponsored by Edifice, so they've got that new partnership. And this is, like, I think, one of the really popular watches amongst the team. He was sort of saying that this is sort of the flagship model that the actual players are choosing, and it is because of that functionality. It does have that 100-meter water resistance, solar powered, as you mentioned, and it's pretty infrequent the amount of times that it needs sunlight. I think a good soak in the sun gives it like 6 months. Really easy to set up, as you love to talk about. Bluetooth. There's a little card that comes in the box. You basically QR code it, scan it, and set it up within like a couple of minutes.
Hang on. I didn't even QR code it and scan it.
Oh, you did the app?
I downloaded the app, turned it on, and it's like, there's one of these nearby. And I'm like, yeah, that's the one.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple of those nearby. Wow. It's super easy. And yeah, I mean, I sized them both up, within I don't know, 30 seconds. Just have the pusher pins that you just kind of whack out. But really easy to size up. It's light, it's thin. It's kind of an impressive package.
Easy to use for like dual time zones. Like you can switch between like home and local on the times pretty quickly, which is great if you're traveling around or even across Australia. If you've got a lot of business in Perth, there's a niche use case study there. And it's Andy, we haven't talked about the value prop as well. Like this is around $600 depending on the configuration you get. So
I think the material, the finish on the materials, the major factor there. They're around $600, which it feels much more than $600 on the wrist.
Yeah, I would have expected this to be around a K if it was a blind watch testing sort of situation, I guess. So check it out, and you can find out more at edificeaustralia.com.au.
Amazing. All right, Felix. Well, it's probably time to get Lydia and Vu onto the show.
Let's do it. Andy, today we're speaking to Instagram's horological power couple with matching Instagram handles. We are speaking to Winters.watches and Bui.watches, aka Lydia and Vu. Sorry, God, I'm all stumbly tongue-tied at the the awesomeness and the crisp photography in front of me. I'm just going to stop talking. Welcome to OT. It's cool to have you here.
Welcome back, Lydia, as well, and welcome for the first time, Vu.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here. This is our first podcast ever in history together.
That's true.
Not as excited. That's why I'm so nervous.
We'll see how it goes.
It's like Abbey Road when the Beatles walked in,
I don't think we've done a four-person pod in a while either. It's probably been like a year or two. A while.
Since the waiting list, I think we may be.
Yep, the waiting list.
Yeah.
But there were more chaotic. Of them, so it was a different dynamic.
Yeah, they ganged up on us.
Uh-oh. We also will do that.
Yes. We have plans.
Yeah, I'm on your side anyway.
Wow. All right. So maybe we want to I didn't in the intro talk about your fairly new YouTube channel, which is pretty incredible for several reasons. We want to speak to you about it, but I just want to say that the opening scene of the first video is perhaps the most shocking thing I've seen since the finale of Series 1 of Game of Thrones. It was
unexpected, even though it's in the thumbnail now. Yeah, the funny thing is that everyone, not everyone, many people have asked, like, how many takes did it take to get that right? Or, how did you plan that? And the fact was, it was not planned. It's actually completely accidental. Lydia was trying, she really wanted to pop the reflector open.
Because
She's
they're
like,
weird.
Oh, it's so weird. And people will be like, is that how they work? And the sound will be cool. And as she goes to pop it, she realizes there's watches on the table. And it may just eject them off the table across the studio. So she kind of turned it toward me instead, the less valuable thing on the set.
Don't take my GMT Master 2. Just smash Vu in the face.
And that's a classic train track situation, isn't it? Where you've kind of have to make one sacrifice one or many.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. No, she
it's what it takes.
Put me in my place.
So now we know watches number 1, Vu number 2.
At least I'm number 2.
Well,
there's a lot of watches, though, to be fair. So it's
and there weren't any cameras on the table either.
Exactly.
Oh, we love it. So the YouTube channel, as Felix mentioned, is pretty new. And you did a little bit of a teaser campaign. I remember vividly sending Felix a screenshot saying this is going to be exceptional, especially in terms of the production quality. And I don't think I was wrong on that call. But tell us, guys, why did you decide to get into YouTube, and what have you got planned?
I mean, for Vu has been trying to get me to make a YouTube channel of the two of us together for, I don't know, since we got together 10 years ago. And I had a very old, I was an early adopter on YouTube with my Minecraft Chick channel in 2010. So when YouTube was just starting to grow up too at the same time. And then, we both love making videos. Vu was a filmmaker. And so finally it felt like, well, watches, photography. Okay, let's use all this knowledge we have and jump into the YouTube video making game.
Yeah, it took some time to convince her 10 years around.
Like
But
watches.
yeah, no, I used to love to create video. I started creating videos online in 2006. I had a show in 2007 that was a daily video with my brother. And I just, I used to enjoy it, but it just kind of felt like the thing I did. And then when I came to Sweden and started working on video games, I was still involved in a lot of media, but I was no longer really hands-on, right? I was directing or overseeing creative direction or giving a lot of input without feeling at the end that the product was mine, which is fair because it's a team and we do it all together, and that part offers its own great feelings of working with a team. But I missed just creating something yourself where from top to bottom the product is a result of your decisions, your knowledge, your experience, and having that product out there, and any judgment on it is a direct reflection of you, good or bad. And I really wanted that, and it's been really nice to get back to creating.
Yeah, especially because Vu's been doing all the work. So I just like walk into the studio. I help with the creative and the ideas and
thumbnail.
But Vu's doing all of the editing and shooting. So, for him, it's even more of a reflection. It's like partial reflection on me and like full reflection on Vu.
Lydia likes to call herself the talent.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but Lydia is probably right in maybe the thumbnail's the most important thing.
Exactly.
But in all seriousness, that Diamond Beach photo shoot video was legitimately insane. Like Andy was sending me messages like, "Dude, you have to watch this. This is like it's like a Marvel movie." Wow. Are you trying to make everyone else feel bad?
I mean, that's my biggest goal.
You've succeeded. Well done. I feel terrible with my jerky phone footage.
I think it's something where we love being adventurous, but I think especially during COVID times, we both can be quite hermits, which is funny. People don't expect that from these two very gregarious, like outgoing people, but we can really be very, want to stay inside, not do too much. And so this was also a way for us to be like, okay, when we're out and about, like we're going to take advantage of what we're doing and we're going to shoot and have fun. And, Vu's got the drone out and we're shooting the car driving. And it just kind of pushes us more creatively and to be creative for ourselves.
Yeah. That's the very
and the
nice
side
answer.
effect is everyone feels bad about themselves. Oops.
That's a you problem, guys. It's a you problem. It's not our fault.
Yeah.
I love it. So you
go ahead. From a production perspective, I think it's interesting to be able to use all these old skills like that I had thought had worn away completely. Luckily, some of them still exist in some form or another. And it's really interesting to be able to combine all these passions, because with our Instagrams, we're combining watches and photography, still photography. But with the YouTube channel, we're combining watches, still photography, and video. And then also, with that comes, I mean, you guys know this, it's also the storytelling aspect and how you're crafting these stories and how you're able to communicate and how you keep someone engaged. It's been really fun.
As you kind of said, it's photography and watches. So there's, multiple passions over the top of each other. I'm curious because you guys sound fantastic right now. The microphones in the videos. I'd love to hear what camera and microphone setup you're kind of running for this fantastic operation.
The talent is going to sit back and be quiet now. Please, Vu, take the stage.
Please, Andy, take the stage.
It's my time to shine. Yeah, I use Canon R5 and R6 for all of the video recording. And our mics are Rode mics. We've got the NTG 5s running into Zoom F6.
Yeah, I picked those out. No.
Yeah, Lydia picked them
Just
specifically. She was like, "Do we need new microphones?" And I was like, "Yes, of course we need new microphones. We're doing something new." But yeah, I've loved Leica cameras for a very long time, and I was shooting with all Leica. And then 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to become a wildlife photographer. And
those wild watches.
And so I switched back to Canon, which was my first system. because they offer the options to do anything. And I think leaving Leica, going back to Canon, afterwards I've regretted it a little bit because I miss that just Leica-ness of Leica. However, when you think of a really versatile camera system, then you're in the Canon, Sony, Nikon range, right? Where they are very much built as hybrid cameras for video and photo, and they have extensive lens ranges. And I think for me, Canon is my favorite ergonomically, as well as the lenses they offer. I think they've been doing some really amazing things with the new R system. But yeah, that's the system we use.
Yeah, so leaving Leica is probably what allowed you to afford to buy these watches then.
It did help. The big Leica sale I had did fund some stuff.
So, also shout out to everyone's favorite Australian microphone company, Rode, bringing you audio quality, I don't know, since whenever they were founded. I find it really interesting, and I'd be interested to sort of get your take on this as someone that's been in the YouTube space for a long time. It's to me, it seems like a lot of the watch content out there is pretty empty calorie sort of stuff. Like it's very quick. It's very sort of.
Ouch.
I'm not.
I love it.
Well, no, not even like but it is like the shocking fact about Rolex you won't believe, and I understand why. It's the algorithm that sort of drives that. And if you're sort of trying to do it to grow and scale and monetize and all that sort of stuff, you have to play that game. Is that what you guys? How do you feel about your relationship to video content? Like, do you want it to be beautiful and pristine and very luxurious feeling, or will we in a few weeks' time find out the secret truth about Rolex?
Well, Vu has a video for the secret truth about Rolex, but it's all like Rolex is amazing. So they're so awesome. But I mean, for us, I think with anything we're doing, and our Instagrams are an example. And when I started my Minecraft Chick YouTube channel, it's like we want to do something that's different than what's out there. It's one of the reasons why we both just love Watch Gringa, because it's she's totally different. It's a different perspective. It's entertainment, but she also does a lot of research. It's fun and so finding a way that we could present what we want in our own style, so it doesn't feel like a replica of another channel, which I would say isn't all fluff. There's maybe the titles are very fluffy, but it is something that's
part of the game.
Yeah, it is part of the game. But I think the content quality for such a niche hobby and community is really impressive, both in YouTube and podcasting. There's so many, which is really cool. And for us, we wanted to think about a very lifestyle storytelling version. And so right now we're very, very niche, like watch photography, how to photograph your watch, but we definitely want to expand into more watches, but it's going to be in our own style. So less about maybe what's new, and definitely not reviews, but more of like, why do we love this watch that we own, that we decided to pick? Why did we sell something? Why, so there's a maybe philosophy storytelling and really pretty images.
Yeah, I mean, it's like both of us are very brand conscious people as well, because we've worked on a big brand for a really long time together, and authenticity is something that's been really important to us over the years. Like how we approach a product or a brand or whatever it is that we're doing, like authenticity feels like maybe the most important thing. And so while you do have to play around with titles to get people hooked, it should still be an authentic title,
or a thumbnail of me smashing you in the face,
or and that really happens in the video.
And that wasn't the original thumbnail, but when people love it, you give them what they want.
We got like 10 messages like, you need to change the thumbnail.
It's like, I'm sorry, I made an ugly
how
thumbnail.
How are you not using the getting hit in the face as your thumbnail?
It was my one job.
But I really think that the future of content, and where we are right now, even this has been happening for the past 10 years, is about authenticity. And people don't want to feel that they're being sold anything. They really want to feel like they're hearing honest opinions. And I think that's really important for how you share content these days. And so for us, the thought was, how can we make something that is visually polished and feels very high quality from a production standpoint, but also feels authentic and feels like you're hearing from two people, not two spokespeople. And I think we have time to figure out, how to get there. But yeah, like Lydia said, we started with a little niche that is watch photography because we knew we already had an audience there through Instagram.
Yeah, that's fascinating. But we do just have to take a quick pause to have a word from our sponsor, Balding Cream something right now.
Oh, Felix.
I know. Oh dear.
I was like, where is this going?
Yeah.
I'm balding cream. Is that because I'm bald?
Is it Keep? Is it? Yeah. Wow.
No.
Really,
Literally, the last podcast I was listening to had Keep ads in it. I just wasn't going to name them or we'd get sued.
He went for the jugular.
At least you didn't go Blue Chew or something like that.
Felix is savage today.
Yep.
Yeah, it's after 7 o'clock. I think
I've had a rough day, guys. So
take it all out right now. This is your chance.
Yeah,
Andy, you better ask the next questions.
Shambles. Not even 20 minutes, Felix. Keep it together. The next question. Yeah, so I think one of the, I remember vividly sending Felix a link to your YouTube video when I went up, obviously watched it. I said, man, Felix, this production quality here is incredible. And I really hope that people appreciate the level of work and attention to detail that has gone into every element of your video. And, he obviously agreed. And as people have made, content in various formats over the years, often one of the things that happens, in the world that we live in, and you kind of mentioned, Vu, is that people don't necessarily appreciate the level of, time and effort and energies that goes into creating content because it's so digestible and, there's a reliance on algorithms and clickbait and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'd love to hear how your philosophy on actually creating content with that in mind and sort of what the reception has been and yeah, what it's been like sort of putting yourself out there in this way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have some things going for us, which is definitely the experience. Like, it's people are like, I can't believe this is your first video. It's not. We've been working in video production, hosting for so long. So I think for people just starting out, like, you can't look at that and be like, oh, that was video one, day one. It wasn't. It was, years and years of experience. And then I think for us, it's really thinking about sort of how we present out, how we build a story, how we build content that we enjoy, that we want to watch back. You hate to make an episode and then you don't even want to watch it back yourself. And so for us, we want to make sure it feels polished and fun and enjoyable, but people don't realize how much time making videos takes. I remember that with my early channel, people would be like, oh, you just did this quickly. It's like, it took so long. Even if you know what you're doing, it takes a long time. So even though Vu has edited for years, it still takes so much time and effort and really polishing and it's that end user experience of just this great presentation and this looks so nice, but it's all the little details that sort of add up to that take time and effort and thought. And luckily right now we're really enjoying all of that effort. And then the other thing I'll say is that we're in a unique position because we have full-time jobs and we're not trying to make this a full-time job.
Yeah.
So we can have fun. Like if we don't put out a video each week, like we haven't put one out and it's okay because we can just like take a pause or relax or like not worry about the thumbnail as much or the title. And so I don't want to discount all the people who are doing it full-time who have to, they need to be authentic, but they also still need to make money. As soon as you make something a job, it changes. You need to have sponsors. You need to do things. So I don't want to understate that's really important.
Yeah, and authenticity isn't just about not taking advertisers, right? Like for sure, you should be able to monetize even a side project at some point because you put in effort and people get value out of it. So it's nice to get something back more than likes and comments.
Yeah.
But there's authentic ways to approach that as well. And just having that thoughtfulness of like what really matters to you and what you care about. And then having anything that touches your projects, at least take that into account. I think it's really important. But yeah, the whole deal of putting yourself out there and people not appreciating the amount of work that goes in, I think any creative understands that. But the great thing about YouTube and many other like TikTok and all of these things, you don't need to put in that production level anymore. I feel very old school in wanting every detail to be right and the sound quality to be as good as I can possibly make it and the lighting to be great. But the reality is the content is really what matters. And if nothing else, you can just see that on the way that most of the content sharing platforms are focusing on short form video content that is just made vertically on your iPhone, right? Or on your phone. And that's because people just want to consume things. It doesn't necessarily have to look and sound amazing.
That's really interesting. And that is actually a really sort of neat segue into a question I had. I think we would be remiss having you both on this chat if we didn't ask you for some, photo tips that maybe didn't make it into, the first video. So specifically, I think I'm the only person here that cannot be bothered with a camera. Like I had like I've had them in the past, sort of,
You did, Felix, back when you were running in a Hodinkee, you did the DIY supplied photos.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that, and it was something where it's like my skill level and my willingness to invest in it, time wise, and there's also money wise, it wasn't something I was passionate about. So I'm happy. I'm more, conveniently enough, phone cameras have got much better over the years, and so I'm more than happy using those. Are there any sort of phone specific photography tips out there for fat-fingered Felix and his friends?
The thing I think that we need to stop doing these days, because like you said, phone cameras have gotten great, is to distinguish between the two. Like these days, a modern camera is a camera, and whether it's a GoPro or a phone or a really high-end DSLR or mirrorless camera, they're all cameras. They're capturing an image, and from the beginning of time when there were cameras, it's always been about the same thing. And it was never really about the camera. It's always about the light. And so what I'd say is what people who are only taking pictures with phones should really focus on is the light and the ability to control that. So both from the subject perspective, so how your subject is lit, but also from the camera. So using the default app usually is not the best way to take a decent photo, because yes, you can click and lock exposure and adjust it a little bit. But the reality is there's like just camera apps that give you a little bit more control, and that also helps you to learn about photography, like what is changing the image and how are different settings changing it without needing to invest in new equipment. So that would be my first place to start.
Yeah, and mine would be just, take photos that you like. I think trying to force yourself into any hobby, anything fun, it just doesn't work, because if the passion isn't there, then you aren't driven to learn more. And so you're just seeing other people's photos like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. I think if you really love photography, then you're like, how do I do that? I want to do that. I want to be better at this. For me, on my Instagram, it's why I always post a behind the scenes, sometimes with silly things and sometimes with, more serious tips, because I think being able to see how someone set up a shot, you can learn a lot from that, and just think about, as you're shooting yourself, like, oh, maybe if I just moved this over, or if I just, changed the light a bit. But what I love about the watch community is that you have people who are doing, really high-end shoots with their watches, and you also have a lot of, a quick watch shot and like, this is what I'm wearing today, and both are totally great. So maybe you just stick with that, Felix, and we'll like
change?
it, like it will be great, and we'll get a different view.
If you think about how people discover watches these days, you may go to the brands page and you see the renders, and then you go straight to Instagram, search the hashtag, and you want to see it on a wrist. You want to see what it looks like in different lighting. And so not everyone is looking for that product photo, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes what you want to know is what does it just look like in real life?
That's
So
a really
all
good
of those
point.
types of photography all work together, especially on a platform like Instagram.
Yeah,
like
actually, I usually want to see those when I'm looking at a watch, like just the quick snap on the street because you know it wasn't like perfectly lit and a lot of attention to detail because I just want to see how it looks, you know, straight from the camera when someone's wearing it.
yeah, that's right. And actually, that's something I do, especially as I get like closer to wanting to purchase a watch. Like,
Mhm.
there's that sort of desire that comes from those beautiful, you know, highly produced ones. But if it's like, okay, what's the strap going to look like in this?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I really liked in your Diamond Beach video when you were talking, Lydia, about getting stuck in in an angle of like shooting a watch, and you kind of get
Mhm.
in your head, you know, about it, and you need to sort of remove yourself from the, you know, the moment and just move around. So I actually had a question here, and I think I'd like to get everyone, including, you know, Andy, to answer it. What is something that people forget about when they shoot watches? Who wants to go first?
I'll
Uh,
take a stab at it.
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
I think one of the biggest things people forget is about reflection.
Yeah, I was going to say
Uh,
that.
yeah, I get a lot of questions
Stolen.
about how to keep the reflection off the crystal. And you know, there's a lot of knowledge and expertise that could go into how to do that. And then there are also very simple ways to do it. But I think I see a lot of photos where I'm like, if only they had just stepped one step to the right, then you could actually see the dial. So I think that's one thing people forget a lot.
It's like you've been looking at my Instagram.
We have some critiques.
It's our turn.
Andy, you want to go next so I don't steal yours?
Yeah, I think like lighting in general and what lighting works well. People and just taking photos at the wrong time of day with the wrong lighting. Like some of the best photos I've taken have been, you know, slightly overcast weather.
Mhm.
And that's all it is, and that gets rid of a lot of those reflections. Obviously, there are some watches, you know, dome crystals that won't work on, and yeah, there's some simple tricks out there. So probably lighting or thinking that it's harder than it is to solve this stuff when really it's you know, a bit of research into the, you know, how to get rid of reflections, and there's going to be handy videos and articles out there for days how to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll go on a different
Mm.
to a different area because you two have the more technical side with reflections and lighting. So I'll stay more on brand for me with more of story and sort of being true to yourself. And I have
Mm.
lots of shots that I try and then I'm like, this looks terrible. So not everything works. And
Mm.
like being okay with that is part of the learning process. And you could take that and also apply it to lighting and to reflections. Like move around. You're like, oh, this is not a good shot at all. What if I turned? What if I moved? You know, because it's okay. Like I have a phone full of shots, some that I love and think are amazing, and some that's like, oh, that idea just didn't really work out. Even with good lighting and reflection, it doesn't really look like me, or it doesn't, you know, it's kind of boring or whatever it is. But it's that experimentation that helps you develop your style, helps you learn about more about photography on both the technical side and the storytelling side.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
Mine again is also pretty simple, and it's one that I've seen countless beautiful photos ruined because someone forgot to clean it first. Someone forgot to,
Yeah.
It's
you
probably
know,
the best tip
yeah.
all around.
That might be the best tip.
I do
Like,
not follow that tip, and Vu knows it. And
you've just got someone next to you that you can just go, well, let's fix it in post.
no, I'm very lazy in that way with the cleaning of the watches.
It takes so much more work to fix
Yeah.
it in post than it does to just dust off the watch.
But
And
I don't
tell her
fix it
all
in
the
post
time.
either, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's
Unless
kinda
it's a
true.
glaring mistake. But I mean, it's Instagram quality. So is it a pixel or is it a dust bunny? Who knows? I don't know.
One of the things I want to ask you, Lydia, is yeah, we know what Vu shoots, but you shoot Hasselblad, and that's a pretty
Mhm.
serious piece of kit, more so, say, probably than Leica, especially when you start looking at some of the macro lenses that they have on offer. Why did you choose this this kind of brand for your photography?
Yeah, so I have been maybe like the Goldilocks of cameras, I would say. I've had almost every system. And because for me, it's very much about the feeling I have shooting. Like I really feel very strongly towards the camera that I'm holding, and like I get inspiration from the piece of equipment. And I'm definitely not on the very technical side as far as like that's the biggest thing I want is like every feature. I want this feeling that brings me like nostalgia and excitement. And so I've shot with a Hasselblad 500 cm, so the film cameras, and I felt like, I've been very much a digital shooter for most of my life, other than, in high school, like quick, sort of instant development cameras. But so for learning photography, the thing the hipsters do is go back to film. I can't learn on digital camera. I have to shoot film. It's much more harsh. And so I had a 500 cm. I shot some photos at my sister's wedding, and just like that, the sound of the shutter and the feeling of it and slowing down and having 10 shots, it spoke to my sort of type of photography. But then I kind of quickly got sucked back into, wanting the latest and greatest, whatever it was. And then when I started shooting portraits of flowers, which became like really at the beginning of the pandemic, I bought a Leica, and I really liked it. And I loved, medium format. It's slower. It just like, I think I'm a medium format shooter, even though, right now all all cameras are super super great, so it doesn't need to be medium format to make it the best version. You can do so much, like Vu said, even with a phone. But for me, I really loved the Leica, and then I touched a Hasselblad digital camera, and I had always wanted one my whole life. And
she had a moment.
I mean, like I remember picking it up, and like I took one shot in terrible lighting in a store, and I was just like, yeah, this camera is for me. And so I sold off the Leica equipment, and I bought the digital Hasselblad, the X1D2, and it's the perfect camera for me. I'm not shooting video with it. I'm taking slow and steady shots, and every time I pick it up and everything, the way that I use it, I feel that it's perfect. And that's the part where I think for everyone, just finding a camera that you really love. And like so many people love their Sonys because it's just like a technical wonder. Like it feels like a piece of high tech. And so if that's the way you want to shoot and how you feel, like it's so cool. The Canon is so versatile. Leica, you see that red that red dot, and you just go like, okay, yeah, that's a Leica. And for me, Hasselblad, it's Swedish. And, I've been living in Sweden for 10 years. I'm a Swedish citizen now. So there's also that tie of like, I shot with it before I lived here and after. And now I'm actually part of their Hasselblad heroines. So they pick women to feature, and they chose me to feature throughout the year because of my photography, which makes me love Hasselblad even more, obviously.
Amazing. Well, they're fantastic cameras, and yeah, obviously the product of it is demonstrated on your Instagram, and it's fantastic. Now, before we talk about new acquisitions, because we sort of teased at the start, there has been some. You guys did a little bit of a trade deal, stirred up a bit of beef with Hodinkie's Danny Milton along the way, but some Oris changed hands. What happened? Tell us about it.
So last year for my birthday, Vu gave me the Oris Aquis Cherry, which he picked out and was like, I think this watch is so perfect for you. And trying it on, I loved the color. I was always a little bit like, oh, this case, like the case might be a little big for me. But, you get caught in the especially excitement of someone buying you a watch. And so I was like, well, this is awesome. And I just realized I hadn't been wearing it
at all.
And I love Oris, I love the brand, but it just like this watch wasn't perfect for me.
Yeah, and I had bought the Oris Momotaro right when it came out. I actually misunderstood the announcement, and I
you were very panicked.
I was panicked. I thought it was a limited edition, and I was calling everyone like, "How do I get this watch?" And I finally got it. It took a day, and then I found out, oh, it's not limited edition at all. It's still on the website right now. Like, it's an awesome watch, but I didn't take the time to think about it. All I saw was Oris and Momotaro and that strap, and I was in love. The thing about it is I have very small wrists, 6.25 inch wrists, and that strap is a little bit long for me. I'm on the last hole on it, and it really wraps around all the way. So I've never worn it on the denim strap, which is
the point.
Like definitely the point, right? And so the dial color ended up becoming the thing about that watch, and that dial color just doesn't really suit me perfectly. I really like bold colors on watches, and this one's very soft and muted, and so I wore it a lot, but mostly because it said Momotaro on the back, and I'm like, oh, I love Momotaro, but not really because I was like, oh, this is going to go perfect with what I'm wearing, or this suits my mood right now, which is how I typically choose a watch. And Lydia just kind of started eyeing it.
Yeah, so I mean, we were bringing up like which watches we felt that, we wanted to sell, and, we haven't been wearing, because that's the thing about watches is, to me, I want to wear them and love them when I put them on. Otherwise, it's really nice for someone else to get to love and wear them. So when I talked about selling the Cherry, and Vu was like, I'm definitely going to sell the Momotaro, because he's gone back and forth for quite a while now. Should I, shouldn't I? And I just said, I've really liked the Momotaro. So if you want to trade, then I'll take the Momotaro, and you can sell the Cherry, or you can, keep it. But getting to have the Momotaro is really exciting for me, because it's a watch Vu wore. Also, conveniently, it matches my eyes like exactly. So I really, really love it, and I don't have to sell a watch. So I got like the best deal ever.
That's mainly the thing. See, I'm not keeping the Cherry. It's also not for me. And so I'm going to sell the Cherry and probably buy another Diver 65 with a different dial color.
So I traded up for a more expensive watch with a bracelet that Vu bought that I love, and I don't have to sell something.
She got the better end of the deal.
You did not do a good barter system, sir.
Well played. Well played.
Andy, this has got me thinking, should we be trading watches?
Who will get the good end of the deal?
I'm sure I've got a ratty old Seiko that I'll take one of your chronographs for.
We see where the starting point of the negotiation is.
Really low. A low offer.
For me, isn't it?
But we should talk about some new since we last spoke to you, Lydia, certainly some new additions into the not shared family over there. Watch that's been featured a lot is a Rolex Oyster Perpetual with a very specific blue dial.
Turquoise.
Yeah.
Not that other T word.
Yeah.
No,
it's been getting pretty silly, hasn't it? And I really love that you're putting that watch on your wrist, you're putting it out on rocks, you're probably scratching it on things.
Oh, always.
Not putting it on Chrono 24.
No, I love it.
Yeah, and I just wonder, does all that stuff around a watch like that sort of inflation and speculation and silliness, does it take the fun out of it for you, or does it sort of not affect you when the watch on your wrist?
I mean, I think the thing with watches are you always want, and just like everything in life is like, you want other people to think what you're doing is cool. So there's some sense of like, oh, this is a watch other people like. They talk about, oh, that's really cool, I'm wearing it on my wrist. But at the same time, it can go too far into just, people hating it and loving it, and, asking to buy it on your Instagram. And just like it inflates too much. And I think we're definitely at that point with it. But to me, it's all about loving the watch. And when I put that watch on, I don't think at all about how much it's worth or what I'm doing, or do I need to keep it, like you said, safe and careful, and ooh, that, like this one's worth a lot. It's more that I like when I look down and I see that color. And I did not like the color at the beginning. It was the first time I saw it in the metal, as they say. And I was like, wow, this is different than I thought. It has a little bit more blue than I thought it did. I thought it was really into the like very turquoise green side. And so for me, I mean, I'm throwing it in sand and like hoping it doesn't wash away on the beach. So I'm probably not a great example, but I think if you love a watch, you should wear it. And that's how I feel with this watch. And I think the overhyping, it's can be one of the more extreme sides of the hobby, but also we all just love talking about watches all day. So if we didn't have this kind of, drama, speculation, like, oh, it's, we what would we be talking about? We'd just be like, oh, all watches are equal and everyone loves them. You need some of that divisiveness to sort of create fun conversations around would you sell it at this price? It's all hypothetical stuff, but for me it's staying on my wrist, and definitely staying in my collection.
I love to hear it. And on the topic of Rolex, there's also a GMT Master 2 Everose roller saw that made it into the collection. How are you liking it? Is it tempting you to go full gold?
No, I actually really love the two-tone, because I think the juxtaposition between this beautiful rose gold and then the steel makes it keeps that sportiness that I really like in the GMT Master 2. The full gold is stunning, so amazing. But as we've already noted, I'm a person who's putting a watch on rocks. I'm wearing it. I have it on right now. I've been digging in the backyard of my sister's house in Florida with my nephew with this watch on, in the dirt, and I would be very, very nervous if I had full gold. So knowing there's a little steel there to
take some of the hits.
Yeah, take some of the
Yep.
the definite abuse from me feels good. But I've always wanted a GMT because it's the most useful complication for my life. I'm living in Sweden. My family is in Florida. They're 6 hours apart from me. I always keep it turned so that I know what time it is here and what time it is in Florida. And so I
used to travel a lot.
Yeah, I used to travel a lot. And I imagine when I travel again, then I will want to wear it. But I love this watch so much. I think I would say it was underrated, but now it's also getting quite a lot of discussion time and becoming a hot watch again. So you heard it here first. As soon as I get it, it starts that price.
Oh, is that what happened?
No.
You're the tastemaker.
But I think it's so beautiful but also sporty, and that's what I really love about it. I feel like if I was taking one watch on a trip, this would be the watch that I would pick, because I could be in a meeting, I could be on the plane, and then I can also be digging in the dirt with my little nephew. And for me, this watch looks perfect for all occasions.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary of that watch. But you're not the only person finding and discovering new watches to beat up. Vu, I spotted a watch that I haven't seen yet IRL, and I'm really, really looking forward to, I imagine, seeing it in Geneva. The Pelagos fixed, or I don't even know how to say it, FXD, or I don't know. What do we call it?
Most people have been saying FXD, so I don't know.
It always reminds me of like a fixie from, circa 2011. How are you finding it?
I still own a fixie, so.
Yeah, sure.
2 now, because the FXD.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's an amazing watch. I told Lydia that my other watches are a little worried because it quickly became just a watch that I felt fit me and my personality and my style, and also at least what I imagine my lifestyle to be. I imagine myself as much more active than I have been during the pandemic. But it really, it's a very comfortable watch. The fact that it's titanium, it's almost the exact same size, you know, all the major dimensions of the watch head are the same as my Rolex Explorer 2, but it is lighter than the Explorer 2. And then the fact that it doesn't even have an option to put any kind of bracelet on it, it really stays light on the wrist. And so right now I'm wearing it with an Erica's Original MN strap, which, I mean, that style of strap is maybe the most comfortable way to wear a watch. And I think it fits this watch even better because, I mean, the watch was made to wear with this kind of strap. And it's just so comfortable. It's very easy to wear. I have twice already forgotten to take it off at night when I go to sleep because I just didn't even notice it. And I didn't realize until the morning when I woke up and went to grab my watch that, oh, wait, I never took it off. It's just that comfortable. Also, can I just say, so many people complain about the bezel and the fact that it's a countdown bezel, but I absolutely find a countdown bezel to be way more useful than a count up bezel. I don't know what other people are timing, but when I'm timing things, I know the time I want to time. And so I set it there and then it counts down. But maybe other people have a different life.
And also a really special lady gave you that watch for a very special occasion.
Whoops. ... I left out the most important part. Yes, Lydia did give me this for our 10th anniversary, which was in November of 2021. And she managed to pick up an MM21 to commemorate that. So it worked out
cool.
Very, very well.
Yeah, it was hard.
That's very caring, and I love how savage you are to Vu, Lydia. That's
Congrats.
I really appreciate that.
Whoops.
And I'm just waiting to see what my anniversary present is, because we decided we would wait to find watches that we actually wanted to get the other person versus like, okay, our anniversary was in November, but just going and picking, okay, here's something. So instead waiting to find what the other person really loved. And when Vu first sent me a photo, I was in Florida and he saw this FXD and it was like I could feel the love through the phone. Like he'll sit on the couch with the watch on his wrist watching YouTube videos about the watch. So
We've all been there.
He really loves it. And it's just, you know, it makes me so happy to know that I got to be part of that.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it's kind of funny the way you said it because it's obvious that there was not a question as to what our anniversary gifts were going to be.
Yes,
they were going to be watches. But for Lydia specifically, because it was in November, she's like, we're not that far from Watches and Wonders.
I want to see
Wouldn't
what's
it
new.
be nice to know what's coming next year?
Clever.
Exactly. And now I got him that 21.
Get the next hype watch, Lydia.
Yep. She wants the Black Bay 58 GMT, just like half the world, but that's what she's hoping for.
Wait, you are hoping for that. I've told you I'm not sure that I would want it, so I don't think you're listening.
Maybe I'm not listening.
I don't think so.
Another trade coming up.
Yeah, exactly. I think Vu wants that to live in our house on his wrist, so that's different.
I see what's going on here. Well, as you mentioned, Watches and Wonders, it is around the corner. In fact, mere weeks away. Felix and I are going to be there. Are you guys heading down? Are you tempted to head down?
Tempted and not sure. I mean, but now that we know that the heavy hitters from Australia are coming out, that's a bit different. You know, like we're not even that far. Yeah, we've talked about it. It's early for our channel. It would really be going just
it'd be for us
to go and have fun and
meet up with all those internet friends.
Yeah, I know.
That's one of the things, but there's a lot less of them going than you'd think.
Yeah, true.
There's a lot of people had thought they'd go, and then I've heard very recently a lot of people are changing their minds. So it's I think when you think of going to Geneva, there's all these different goals that you can have for going there, right? It can be to meet up with internet friends, which that is a great event to go to. But let's say what you're interested in is talking to different brands or different people, then maybe Watches and Wonders isn't the best place to do that in that setting. You know, you don't
everyone's
get time.
So busy.
Yeah, you don't get time with people. So we're definitely going to go back to Geneva at some point, hopefully this year. But unfortunately, probably won't be Watches and Wonders. We're still evaluating. We're still
Yeah,
evaluating.
now we were like a hard no, and now we're both like the eyes are
Yeah,
like
looking at each other like,
we made a mistake.
Tell you
Felix and
what.
Andy flying 30 hours. Maybe
And
there's
if
something
you
going on there.
if you really want to secure an allocation of one of those hot watches, what better place and time to do it than as it's announced? You did that, Andy, didn't you?
Well, last year we
Maybe.
watched we watched the announcements with our AD at the
did.
AD. We watched the
Yeah.
Rolex and
And
Tudor
Tudor.
You
because
got
it was
some,
just
you
so
got some
fun.
power. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so we
We're
sat
just
there.
hanging out in
Yeah.
the
It
store,
was
like
really
being
fun.
loud.
We sat there. They pulled it up on a laptop, and we just, a few of us sat there and watched it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take the new Explorer too.
and
Well, I guess
I
no one
remember.
called. There was no one else putting their name down, so it's
Oh
a
no,
smart play.
everyone's phone at the AD was lighting
Yeah.
up with requests.
Well-
So they were just getting calls and texts from many
Yeah.
different customers saying, I want that. I want that. It was a really interesting time
It
to
was
be
fun.
at the AD.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
fascinating.
stressful. What do you think we're going to see out of the fair in general? Anything exciting other than a Black Bay 58 GMT?
Ooh, I mean, I am a really bad predictor. I'll start with that.
That is true.
Like I can
That's
watch a
very
show and be
true.
like, that person and that person did it. And
She
then it's like,
guesses everyone except the real one
So
who did it.
I feel like whatever I say, take the opposite, and then that will be what happens. I'm just excited because last year was our first Watches and Wonders. I was just getting into like the watch community.
Mm.
I had started my account in February, and then Watches and Wonders was, right around the corner. It was the first digital one. So for me, I was like, I talked about it and listened to things about it, but I wasn't quite as deep.
Yeah.
So this year feels really fun. I'm just excited to see people's reactions. I mean, I think you have so many fun things like the two-tone Explorer last year, and everyone's like, that watch. And then, people have really come around to it, and you have
It's everything that
you
gets
have
released.
you have like Adrian from Bark and Jack saying like, I want that watch. And a year ago everyone was like, oh, even I was like, and then I saw it in person. Wow, that's amazing. So I love seeing that, like the first reactions, and then people like things growing on them. And I'm definitely of the mindset of like everyone should love the watch that they have. So I think it's fun to debate the design and maybe the prices, but I think at the end of the day, I want everyone to wear a watch that they love. So I am not a hater on any brands. If you're wearing it and you love it, like that's awesome. I think it's fun to see what people release and how everyone feels about it. So my prediction is the watch community will be up in arms.
Well, this may be your
sure bet.
first time you get the prediction right. People do love to hate on things that are new, and then 6 months later, everyone's like, I have to have that. It happens a lot. Oh, the Odysseus is a great example, right? I think anytime a brand does something a little bit different, and I do mean just a little bit, it doesn't have to be way out of their wheelhouse. It really fires people up, but then they realize, oh wait, but it's still a cool watch. My predictions are usually very detailed,
and they're things you want.
They specifically have to do with things.
It's not a prediction. It's a wish.
Yeah,
exactly.
it is a wish list.
Heavy
But
suggestions.
I mean, there are watches that deserve updating, right, across different brands, and so you look at those and you're like, okay, that's ripe for an update, and it may not happen this year, but it's going to happen soon. And so those are easy on the predictions, and that's what you see a lot out on the blogs right now, are the ones where it's like, oh, every other watch in this catalog has had an upgraded movement except this one. It's probably going to get updated,
which is what everyone said last year too. So
well, yeah, but they were they weren't wrong about some of them, right? So I think the predictions are really fun, but most predictions do end up being wish lists.
But I thought of my wish list. What I really want is I have the Tudor mini sub, like from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I love, like, I think a day or two ago, Bryn from Dime Piece posted her new Tag Heuer that's also that like small sub size. And I mean, come on, watch brands. Like, women and watches are here to stay. Men are enjoying smaller watches. Like, why can't we have some subs from really good brands that are a bit smaller. That's what I just want to see. I think probably watch industry is five years out from that.
I have a question for all three of you.
Yeah, sure.
Like, what do you think will be the color this year?
I've been thinking about this so much, and I don't know.
I mean,
Purple.
Aubergine.
Yeah, it's gonna be purple or something.
I mean, if you go purple, because I was looking through like the Pantone colors of the year, but they don't coordinate to the watch, the watch designs.
Yeah.
But periwinkle is the Pantone color of the year, which is that blue purpley. So maybe the two of you,
it's got to be Tiffany blue. It's like everyone's going to have a crack at it.
I think
we're
so.
already there, aren't we?
I feel like we're already there.
We can have more.
Yeah, that's the thing. Not all the brands have done their version of it yet.
Yeah, but I think with the Nautilus being actually Tiffany, if you had a Tiffany that you were making, I think you go, no, oof. If you're a big brand,
there's a real Tiffany blue out there.
I just wonder how you feel. Like, do you feel like you've missed it, and everyone's gonna say like, "Oh wow, you just got on that"?
I don't think that's how those brands.
It's never stopped them before.
That's true. That's true. It's wishful thinking to like.
I think Tudor's going to be interesting because it's 10 years of the Black Bay this year, so
yes,
there might be something interesting there. Hey, we've got to wrap up in a minute, but I just wanted to know: is there anything exciting on the horizon for you guys? Any?
Yeah, tell us what's planned.
Hinted at things that you can reveal.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I've definitely been doing some interviews with some cool publications, I'll say. And
almost as cool as this one.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't call it a publication. This is a podcast publication. And for like becoming a Hasselblad heroine is sort of the biggest thing for me. It's something I didn't imagine. I've followed that, like, their program to get more women into photography for years. I follow a lot of the previous Hasselblad heroines, and so to be part of that and get to be featured throughout the year with a brand that I love and I'm so passionate about is that's the biggest thing on.
I think that's also a win horizon. For watches.
Yeah,
because when you look at the photographers, they've done Hasselblad heroines in the past, and what type of photography they've featured, you wouldn't predict that they would choose someone who right now your main outlet is watch photography.
Yeah, every photo I submitted was watch.
So
yeah, that's
Hasselblad
true.
will be promoting throughout the year watch photography, and that's I find that really fascinating.
That's cool. Yeah, it is a really cool. It's a cool thing to see. They haven't done a lot of that more product style, and definitely watches. And I just love being able to think about getting women into photography and watches. So two things that I love and that are very male dominated, and just getting more women into it because we're better with more diverse people in the community.
Always.
100%.
I love it. Well, guys, you know what the final question is? You know what we want to know? It's been a while since we've talked. You're a very interesting couple and individuals. Have you got anything that you would like to recommend to the listeners? It could be any form of content, reading, books, music. What have you been killing the time with that you've enjoyed that you think we'll enjoy it?
So I'm going to go with a TV series on HBO Max. And I have to say, first of all, this is like not my genre at all. I'm like, I like watching things that are like love and happy and like no blood would be my typical style.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually convinced Vu to watch this with me, and he was like, I think you'll hate it. But we started watching Peacemaker with John Cena, and I absolutely love it. Like the season just ended, so you can binge watch all of them. I just love the humor. They are, really tackling a lot of different heavy topics, but in such a fun and interesting way, with a great storyline, a great cast. And yeah, that's my recommendation. That's really, if you would have asked me like 6 months ago if I would have recommended that, it would be a definite no. I'm not a Suicide Squad watcher.
Yeah.
But that show is so great, so smart, so fun.
John Cena's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
He is.
He is so incredible.
Unexpectedly amazing.
Yeah, and that's, it's kind of what you would hope for at Watches and Wonders.
And
What's the unexpectedly incredible thing?
Yeah,
John
his
Cena's at
face
Watches and
is
Wonders, I'm
so
losing my
expressive.
shit.
Me too. You tell me if John Cena's there, I will be straight on the plane from Stockholm.
Understood. And Vu, do you have anything to beat that?
I forgot about this part. I really had not prepared. And so the first thing that comes to mind is actually I was way behind the curve on this one. So if any of you out there have also missed this, ever since the pandemic, series have become such an important part of your life, right? Like my life used to be consumed with movies, but during the pandemic, you kind of run out of movies and you sit and watch series, and you can really, the nice thing about TV shows or series is that you really get a chance to know the characters. And in a movie, you have to tell that story in a very different way. You cannot have a cast of characters where by the end of a 90-minute movie, you feel you know each of them.
Yep.
And you can do that in a show, especially if you get multiple seasons. And this year, the show that really, I had missed it entirely. Apparently, it was this big phenomenon years ago, but Casa de Papel, which here in English-speaking Europe, they translated to Money Heist. I fell in love with that show in a way.
There was so much crying.
Oh yeah. I cried so much in that
I didn't
show.
watch
I
it.
cry a lot when I watch things. Like I don't get very emotional in my life. Like if something sad happens to me, I'm like, well, that sucks. But if it happens to a character on a TV show, then the tears start flowing. And this show just really got me. And it's really, I mean, like most shows, what you really love is the characters, right? The story is important, but the characters is what drives the series, especially through 5 seasons. It was so good. It was so emotional. And, what a way to make who are technically the bad people, right? The villains, to make them not only relatable, but make you love them. It brings me back to movies like Heat, right? Where you take these characters, and Michael Mann does it so well of like taking the true villain.
Well, even Peacemaker.
Yeah, technically
that sort of villain, right? That you can identify with.
I do think there's a difference. Some go on a redemption arc, right? And I think with some, they stay the villain and you stay rooting for them. And that is a skill. So yeah, I highly recommend Money Heist or Casa de Papel.
Solid. You've done that, haven't you, Andy? You've watched Money Heist.
I've not done all of it, but I can vouch for the first couple of seasons. I need to get more time out of it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, they're two great recommendations.
I love it. Well, Lydia, Vu, thank you so much for joining Felix and I again.
Andy Green, Lydia and Vu, what a power couple. I don't know any other way to describe them.
Awesome people.
Power
awesome
couple
human beings
that are great at photography and videography and genuinely nice. Like we were talking before, how we were, sort of messaging them afterwards, and just, I don't know, so genuine, so enthusiastic. Definitely get around them, check them out on any platform, and well done, of course, to Lydia for being a Hasselblad heroine. That's really
huge.
That's pretty sick. I don't think I could ever be a spokesperson for any sort of camera brand. So, well done you. Maybe unless there's some sort of professional Google Pixel phone camera person, but even then. If you want to find out more about them, you can check out their socials in the show notes. You want to find out more about Edifice, edificeaustralia.com.au. If you want to find out more about our, financials, you can try email us at otthepodcast@gmail.com.
Fantastic.
If you want to find out more about our social media presence, head to ot.podcast on Instagram.
Yeah. And just, again, for the 15th time, join our Discord. And, thank you for everyone who supports the show.
Yeah, give it a review.
Yeah, 5-star review, thank you.
I was thinking, should we do something like, if someone gives us a particularly good review, should we do a little shout out at the end?
Yeah, we'll read them out at the end.
Yeah, so there's some, if you're listening this far and haven't reviewed it yet, mate, what's wrong with you? You should have. This is commitment. Take it the next step, give it a 5-star review. Do that, and we'll all be sweet.
Awesome. All right, see you guys next week.